So again, I'm jumping back into our textbook. All right. Oh, let me tell you. Remember before when I asked about those instant apps and Andrew knew what it meant? I will send you this before tomorrow, but I found a couple really good articles from PC World, Android instant apps, what they are and how to use them on your phone. And this one, the articles go together. This one, which is Google's instant apps, hit the Play Store as a big step toward the future. All right. This was from October. The other one, they're both from October. They're fairly, I mean, it's 17, but they're still both fairly recent. Okay, year and a half old, I guess. So, all right. So I'm jumping back in here again. Chapter 4, how to test and debug an Android app. All right. They talk about how you should test these things, how to use Logcat, which I started showing you, but I'm going to show you some more in just a minute. How to use the debugger. And if you look up on the screen, please, would everybody agree? I don't have to go over the section on how to create an emulator. We already did that, right? All right. I mean, this author is assuming you know nothing. All right. But I don't know how they would put how to create an emulator in Chapter 4 when they've already had you working on a project. But they did. All right. Maybe they assume you're working on a regular device. I don't have a clue. All right. So notice, when you test the app, you're trying to make sure it works correctly. When you debug an app, all right, you're trying to get the bugs out of it. So the stuff here, here's the golden stuff. Look at this. The goal of testing is to find errors or bugs and make the app fail. You want to be the one to make the app fail. You don't ever want to put an app out there that somebody goes, especially if they pay money for it, all right, and have it fail on them. Does that make sense? They're going to find a way, whether it's YouTube, whether it's whatever, the equivalent of Yelp for this, I don't know. But they're going to find a way to let people know. They put it on their Facebook page or whatever. All right, so when you're testing, you're trying to find errors or bugs. When you debug, you're trying to fix those bugs. Now, look on the screen, please. The author says that when you test, you should do it in 4 phases. All right? In phase 1, all you're testing is the interface. You saw when I ran mine how I didn't have everything constrained, right? Everybody saw that? I'd like to say, I did that on purpose just to no, I did it because I screwed up. All right, but you're just testing the interface. Also, look on the screen, please. You've already seen this, but I want to show it to you again anyway. I'm going to jump back into here, and I'm just going to do a file, save all. And I'm going to go over by the thing that looks to me like a little bit like a football. Go to landscape. And notice, doesn't look too bad in landscape either. See it? It's not perfect. It may not be lined up 100%, but it sure as heck doesn't look bad. So if somebody were to actually put this on their phone and tilt it, it looks a lot better than it did the first time I showed it to you when the button was running into the text view, right? All right. So that's one thing. You want to check the interface out. You also might very well, when you're checking out the interface, you want to check it on different platforms. So if you've got a, maybe you've got a virtual machine on your system where you can run this under Linux, or maybe you've got a Mac at home and you can run it under a Mac, etc. Why am I telling you that? Not so much for this class, but let's assume that Devin here creates an application, that it's his final app, and it's pretty damn good. But it's free, and now he wants to go and explode it and give it a paid version, etc. You don't just want to test that on a Windows machine. That should make sense to each and every one of you in here. You want to test it on a Mac or an Apple, whatever you want to call it. You want to test it on a Linux box. All right? Okay, so that's step 1. Step 2, put in your valid data and make sure it works. I put in 23 and 61. I hit the add button. I got 84. It was magic. All right. Step 3, test it with invalid data. All right. Now, if you look up on the screen, I'm not sure if this is the right line because I'm literally pulling this thing, out of my head, not out of my butt, but out of my head. But when you look here, let's see. I want to go back to my Java code. I'd have to do something in here where I've got this integer parse. Either I'd have to put that into a try parse. You know how to do that, right? I'm sorry. I have to put that into a try catch. Remember when we did our exceptions? Or I'd have to do something like, let's see. Well, I'm doing a parse int here. I could check first, and I could do this. Look on the screen if you would, please. True or false, I could come in and say this. If edit text, number 1, dot get text, dot to string, if that's equal to the empty string. I can do that, right? I'm not getting any errors. You all see this? All right? I could say if it's not equal to the empty string, then do this. Otherwise, I could give it a default value, or as you'll see in just a couple minutes, I could put a toast up there. So what I should do is I should take this line of code here, and I should just come up here and do this. Int num1, int num2, int result. All right? Then I should come here and do this. Please look up on the screen. Everybody. All right? I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to say else. And I'm going to do a set text on it, but I'm going to set the text to 0. All right? Maybe that's a stupid way to handle it, but that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say edit text, number 1, dot set text, 0. I don't know if I need a toString on that or not. How about this? 0. Oops. Look on the screen, please. Does what I just did there make sense to you? Because I'm going to copy all these lines right here. I'm going to copy them to the clipboard, and I'm going to put them in again. All right? And now I'm going to put in 2. I'm not sure if that's the right way to fix this or not. I'm really not. But I think it is. All right. It says num1 and num2. See this? Might not have been initialized. See that? It's trying to protect me from me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come in here and I'm going to say else. I'm going to do that, but I'm just going to say num1 equals, or I guess it's num2, I'm sorry. Num2 equals 0. And I'm going to do the same thing up here. Num1 equals 0. I'm going to make this. No, it's not going to let me make it any smaller. Do you all understand what I did here? I created those variables, but now rather than just doing the parse, which could fail, all right? I'm saying if you can do the, if it's not, oh, look on the screen. Why don't, when I screw up, please tell me. It's not equal to that. That means there's something in there. It's got to be a number, right? All right. I think this will fix it. I don't know. And I'll tell you what, just so you've got it, I'm going to run this, and if it works, I'll print out a copy for everybody. All right? I don't care. It's not that much code. It's only a page. It'll be one page, probably. So I'm going to do a file, save all. I'm going to come back here and bring up my emulator. I'm going to tell it to run. Use the same one I've got. Be careful if you've got a bunch of emulators. First of all, I've had people do that where they've ran multiple emulators at once. Not only does it slow the system down, it can actually crash the system. All right? I don't think, usually if you get 2 of them to run, it's a mistake. Now, notice there's nothing in there. Doesn't like that, so there's something else. I'll have to check out what it is. All right? All right. That is the right code. I just may have it in the wrong places or whatever, but it's just about there. All right. So going back here to our book, Again, the goal of testing is to find errors. The goal of debugging is to fix those errors. Check the layout. I've already shown you zoom in, zoom out. I've shown you different screen sizes, etc. All right, so you've seen all this stuff already. Nothing new there. All right. How to handle runtime errors. This is that logcat. All right. This is kind of what I showed you before, correct? If the logcat does not show on your screen, so if it's not there, drag up, and what you should see on the bottom here is something that says logcat. Logcat means it's logging every action you've put in. Does that make sense? What I'm going to try to do between today and tomorrow is to fix this, put in everything I want it to have, and if it works, I'll just let you all copy mine. All right? I don't want to. We're not going to do that most of the time. In fact, when you start creating yours, sometimes I'll create the programs you have for an assignment, sometimes I won't. But last semester, we did what? We did a miles per gallon. We did a BMI. We did a rock, paper, scissors. We did a whole bunch of things. And when they had their test, one of their tests wasn't that different from the test you took in Java. But I had them do that, something similar to that, as an Android app. All right? So when you encounter an error that causes the program to end, as it says, the emulator or the device will give you an error message that you'll see in the logcat window. If it's not displayed, that's how you do it. I just showed you that. You can trace. This is really important. So either look on the screen or look in your book or whatever. When they talk about tracing code execution with logcat, you can write your own logging messages. See this? What this says is I want to put a logging message in here, and there's different types. There's D for debug, E for error, W for warn, I for info. The color will be different on them, as you can see. All right? And a lot of times people like to put an E in there because that means their stuff will show in red. Did you all hear that? All right. But what this is going to do, if you look on the screen, it says, hey, I think I got an error in my program. So when you start running it, this is going to write in your log window, calculate and display method started. It'll show you what the bill amount is when you started. It'll show you what the tip amount is when you started and what the total. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. They show you how to do that exactly in here on these pages. All right. Now, the next one is a toast. Okay, please look up on the screen. Here's a toast. See that? Toasts have evolved over time. They're more or less, what is that, an oval? I don't even know what you'd call it. Kind of ovular in shape. All right? But they come, and it's at the bottom of the screen. Okay, that you wouldn't typically say on create method. But if for some reason this is what I'm going to expect, I will put something in there. Let's assume tomorrow I give you your first assignment, and one of them is the BMI program, and I say if the height's out of range or the weight's out of range, all right, or whatever, you know, something's put in a toast. Does that make sense? All right. When you put in a toast, this is how you do it. Look on the screen, please. You have to import android.widget.toast. That's the first thing. A lot of people put that down at the beginning of their programs right away. Then notice what you do. This is a line of code right here. All right? See this line that's in blue? That's creating a toast. It's calling it T. All right? And that's your current object. This is what you want the toast to say. And if there's a short, what else do you think there is? A long. I believe those are the only two things, and a short is like 1 to 2 seconds, and a long is like 3 to 5 seconds. So it's how long do you want the message to display. So you import, you use two statements, one to set up the toast, one to tell it to show, all right, or you can do it as one statement. Everybody see that? Now, the debugger. I'm up to page 106. Again, if you would please look on the screen here. All right, I'm going to go back. The debugger only makes sense in code mode here. Does that make sense? It's your code you're debugging. All right, notice this. If I take my mouse and put it right here where it says num1 equals 0, everybody with me? I'm on line 36. If you click off to the side, you see that? Turns the breakpoint on, turns the breakpoint off. Does that make sense? All right. Look on the screen then. Let's assume, I assume that there's a problem with this line of code right here. You with me? I assume there's a problem right there. Don't put the breakpoint after that line because the code's already run. But I can put as many of these in as I want. So I can come in here and I can check it. All right? So there's a lot of different ways that you can do this stuff. Okay? All right. So that's the breakpoints. You turn them on, you turn them off the same way. They're toggleable. How to step through the code. Look at the screen, please. I think, unless they've changed it, I believe it's F8, which will allow you to run your code a line at a time. Did you hear me? That one is the one you'll probably use the most often. All right. The rest of it is how to create emulators, so I'm not going to say that. We've already looked at this. I'm not giving you any homework from out of this book. I'm not saying, did you hear me? I'm taking for granted you all heard me. You will not get any homework from out of the book. All right? Paul has already written a first test. I'm surprised because I think it's a lot simpler than I thought he'd make a first test. All right? But I'm probably going to end up using his test material, unless he makes something that I really disagree with, and I don't think that's going to happen. All right, look on the screen if you would, please. Tomorrow, we're going to start with this. How to start your first Android app. All right? I think there's something to be said to building it from scratch. You may agree, you may not agree. All right? If you don't agree, you probably can go out to, if you look on the screen, you probably can go out to Murach.com. You can go out there, find their Android book, and probably download the book's code. Did you hear me? All right. So I can come out here. You have to find the right one. So let's see. MySQL. You keep clicking in here, and eventually you'll find it. Probably knowing my luck, it'll be at the end. Nope. 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 No. Right in the middle. See that? So you find the Android one, you click on that, you go down to the bottom, it's way too big, and you'll find free downloads. See that? Click on the free downloads, there's chapter 1 if you want that. There are the books, app, and exercises. All right? In fact, I'm going to download that now, and I'll put it on this flash drive, and if you want it, Jeff Skit. That was good. Anything that's already given to you in the book, I would never ever, all right, I would never ever ask you to turn in, because all you'd have to do would be to copy it from the book. All right? I'm going to give you this in just a minute, so if you want it, you'll have it. The other thing is, if you please would all look on the screen for a second, I'm going to give you one more thing. If you don't want it, don't take it. But on my F drive here, I've got a folder that's called Cookbooks, and I've got a bunch of stuff in here. Oh, that one, that's not for you. That's for my daughter. So that you don't really want. All right. But I've got a bunch of PDFs in here. An advanced Android tutorial, a regular Android tutorial. These are actually books. Some stuff I found online. I just got sent this. Would have been nice if I would have been sent that before we went through the Java stuff. But if you want that stuff, you can have it. Again, if you don't want it, then just don't take it. You're not, sure as heck aren't hurting my feelings. Because one of the things that's in there, I'm a member of JavaCodeGeeks.com. I'm not a member, but I subscribe to them. And when they put out stuff, they call it cookbooks. So the first thing that got put in there was the Android cookbook. So I just decided to call the whole thing cookbooks. So you tell me if I have to write this down or not. All right, I'll be happy to do that if you want. What I want you to do for your first assignment, don't worry about when it's due. It won't be till next week sometime. I want this to work, all right? And I want you to take your answer, not only put it where it is, but put it in a toast, all right? I don't care, you know, like if you put in a 23 to 61, you can make the toast if you want, say 23 plus 61 equal 84. Does that make sense? But it should be something that would help the person. Also, I want you to go and use the log stuff, and I want you to log the value of both text boxes, or I'm sorry, both of your edit text and your text view. I want you to log all those to Logcat. Does that make sense? I want you to do that. Once you've got all that done, all right, then you can take that folder, zip it, and email it to me. All right? I think that's enough lecture for one day. You may not think so, but I definitely think so. My throat thinks so. Questions on anything I've asked you to do? Hopefully what we just did made sense. Again, tomorrow, and I'm going to go back because it's been a while since I've read this. I'm going to go back and I'm going to read Chapter 2 and I'm going to read Chapter 3. And I believe what they do in Chapter 2 is they go in and they show you how to set up the interface. And in Chapter 3, they put in the code. All right? So tomorrow, you will have this. You will have the finished product. You can either bring that up and look or create it with me. All right? If it takes 2 hours to do this tomorrow, fine. Then after we're done, I will give you your first assignment, and the rest of the period will be lab. Does that all make sense? All right? All of Monday next week will be lab. All of Tuesday next week will be lab. I believe that, especially in this part of the course, you need probably at least 2 lab days, if not 3, for every lecture day. All right, so you're going to get a lot of lab. Should be done now.